All right. So, God help you if you have had to take a plane over the last month or so. This is the situation right now at the nation's airports.
Again, the shutdown causing chaos at airports nationwide. More than 4,000 flights canceled and 15,000 plus delayed. The federal government ordering a 4% reduction in flights to combat staffing shortages.
It worries me for our safety.
On Sunday, before the deal took shape, President Trump's Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy painting a dire picture of the struggles over the weekend.
Yesterday, Jake, 18 of 22 controllers in Atlanta didn't show up. We had 81 staffing triggers throughout the national airspace yesterday.
And saying safety is driving the reductions, adding to the pressure on Congress.
2 weeks before Thanksgiving, you're going to see air travel be reduced to a trickle.
Long lines already forming across the country as passengers found themselves stuck in airports and on tarmacs.
This is largely due to the air traffic control slowdown as well as the government shutdown.
To start the week, expect more aviation struggles. American Airlines says it's already canceled 220 flights Monday, United 190 and Southwest 140 to meet the government's 4% reduction, which was initially set to rise to 6% Tuesday and 10% by Friday. Now it's unclear if that order will change, with word of the shutdown possibly coming to an end. What's also uncertain is just how quickly the airline industry can get back up to speed, with Thanksgiving now less than 3 weeks away.
And the president, guys, of the Air Traffic Controllers Association says there's a new dynamic at play right now. For the first time ever, you have certified controllers who are going through multi-year training processes that are just resigning and leaving the industry. And it comes at a time right now where aviation is looking at a deficit of some 3,800 controllers. It is just exacerbating a major problem right now. Savannah, back to you.
Well, Donald Trump, having his finger on the pulse as always, put out a truth message directed at air traffic controllers that is sure to help to stem that tide of mass resignations, because these people who already work 6 days a week in a very high stress industry, why would you not want to stick around to get directly attacked by the president of the United States? All air traffic controllers must get back to work now. Anyone who doesn't will be substantially docked.
I love that.
For those air traffic controllers who are great patriots and didn't take any time off for the Democrat shutdown hoax. Everything's a Democrat hoax. I will be recommending a bonus of $10,000 per person for distinguished service to our country. For those that did nothing but complain and took time off to go feed their families and drive for Uber, even though that's not in there, even though everyone knew they would be paid in full shortly into the future. I am not happy with you. You didn't step up to help the USA against the fake Democrat attack that was only meant to hurt our country. You will have a negative mark, at least in my mind, against your record. If you want to leave service in the near future, please do not hesitate to do so with no payment or severance of any kind. You will be quickly replaced by true patriots who will do a better job on the brand new state-of-the-art equipment, the best in the world that we are in the process of ordering. The last administration wasted billions of dollars trying to fix antiquated junk. They had no idea what they were doing. Again, to our great American patriots, God bless you. I won't be able to send your money fast enough. To all others, report to work immediately. God bless America, President Donald J. Trump.
That's one of his best, man. That is one of his best.
That is
as unhinged as it gets. You'll have a negative mark in my mind for the rest of your life. I will think of you negatively in my mind, like that. And I love how he says we're going to replace you with true patriots. Yeah, no, that's I'm sure that's very comforting for like frequent air travelers, that the competent air traffic controllers that walked off because they weren't getting paid, they're being replaced by true patriots who are training up on new equipments. Yeah, Donald Trump is replacing you with the guy who took a shit on Nancy Pelosi's lectern on January 6th. He's going to be the one directing your flights around on new equipment now.
I hear the QAnon shaman applied for a job. Well, actually, somebody commented the potential result of MAGA air traffic controllers.
Those are the patriots. The true American patriots are in charge of air traffic control now.
Don't you want a true American working a high stress job responsible for hundreds of thousands of lives per week? Yeah, no. What could possibly go wrong with that? If a statement like that were put out by the leaders of Iran or North Korea, the press would have a field day for a week about the unhinged, deranged leader of that country. Like, that is not completely unhinged, that tweet. Like, that's not almost beyond. I can't even think of an autocratic leader that batshit that they ever put out anything like that. Like, I can't really compare it.
No,
any of the craziest autocrats in history. I can't remember anything like that ever being put out. So Ingraham, to her credit, look, man, Trump did not go in there and find the deep state malfeasance he said he was going to find, but he did manage to find Laura Ingram's backbone, which nobody thought was possible. Here she is asking about this promise of $10,000 for the MAGA air traffic controllers.
Ones that stayed, of which there were a lot of them. I'm sending them a $10,000 bonus.
Where's that money coming from?
I don't know. I'll get it from someplace. I'll get it from. I always get the money
couch
from
cushions.
Regardless, it doesn't matter. We did a lot.
I'll tell Javier Milei I need a little bit back
because it's really something that it's like the American way when you think about it.
Oh wow!
Oh, it's the American way. You steal it from somebody. That's what I mean by the American way. You steal it. Steal it from Venezuela if you have to.
You know, we're getting a lot of Syrian oil now, thanks to my new friend, the terrorist. So maybe
my new friend, or
we'll borrow it against that.
The new head of Syria. He did a very good job with Al Qaeda. It wasn't easy to take down those buildings, so I figure he could do a good job running Syria too. So
those buildings were very strong.
They're very strong. If he could do that, what can't he do?
Yeah.
So Pete Buttigieg, just to remind you that no one's coming to save you. So Pete Buttigieg, who's desperately trying to present himself as a credible candidate for 2028, inserting himself into a lot of conversations, making the rounds on podcasts. The president wouldn't last 5 minutes as an air traffic controller. And after everything they've been through and the way this administration has treated them from day one, he has no business shitting on them now. All right. So look, man, as a head of the Department of Transportation, as a transportation secretary who was so bad at the job that for the first time Americans actually started paying attention to what the Secretary of Transportation does, was something nobody had any idea what the job was until you fucked it up so badly that people actually noticed how bad you were at your job. Maybe sit this one out. Like, probably you don't want to draw people's attention to that part of your resume.
Right.
Pete Buttigieg sucked so bad, he got owned by Sean Duffy. Give me a break. You were basically AWOL at the DOT, which he was.
He was, yes.
I spend my whole day dealing with your neglect and cleaning up your messes. Sit this one out. Hey, man, Duffy's got his own problems, but no lies detected. Just to point out, it's not a sure thing, as you were saying in the previous segment, that in 2028 the Democrats sweep. Look who they're offering.
No.
Look what they're
2028
offering.
is not a sure thing by any stretch. 2026 looks like it, absent mass fuckery. But no, because this is why. Because their personalities are like, you have to have good personalities to win a presidential election. You can't just win that by default. And this is what you're dealing with when it comes to
what you're dealing with. Here's what you're dealing with. Somebody so lacking in self-awareness that he doesn't realize on his own I shouldn't weigh in on transportation issues because I really don't want people being reminded
Right.
of my tenure as the transportation secretary. All right, so this video went viral of a pilot who, I believe this was at Newark Airport, where they had planes waiting to take off 30 deep, waiting 2 hours on the tarmac to take off, just finally coming out and addressing the people waiting on the plane.
What your political persuasion is, but you should really call your senator. Because I'll tell you, this is costing the airlines millions of dollars. And just think of 30 airplanes with one engine running. And it's going to take us at least 90 minutes to take off. So it's frustrating. It's really frustrating for me. Because right now it's going to cost about 2 hours of our lives on the ground before we even take off, spend all that gas, all that money, and it just rolls into the rest of this system. So right now we're at a 4%
Look, he's got a hype woman.
in flight capacity. Next week we go to 10. Last night I had a 6-hour delay in Houston, and the weather was perfect. It's because the air traffic controllers aren't getting paid. So it's a weekend.
I got a waitress at the Margaritaville kiosk waiting to suck me off in the men's room. I'm going to have to tell her I'm not going to make it now. Can you believe that? Hour and a half late. Thanks, Donald.
You know, a lot of pilots have second families, and it's not easy to get to the second family and keep the second family from the first family. When we have these kinds of problems, pretty soon somebody calls somebody, and you're living at the Motel 6. I don't want that. You don't want that. You don't want my mind on that while I'm flying you at 30,000 feet.
You don't want to have to make up 800 miles between Nebraska and Utah just so I can get a blowy, do you? No. So you want these things to run on time.
Yeah, this is that's really something that's going to make you feel safe. The pilot coming out clearly furious and stressed about how long they've been on the tarmac. That's going to make you feel real good during takeoff. But yeah, man, this is the situation, and obviously, this is partly due to the shutdown, but this is something people aren't getting into that we did at the time. Hey, man, Doge made all those cuts to support staff that have made the top line jobs much more stressful and difficult because they don't have people handling paperwork and processing things the way that they did. It was pretty clear under this crew, and we always want to be fair. Did they inherit a problem that was decades in the making? Absolutely. These are not the people to fix it. They are making the problem exponentially worse, starting with Doge, firing all of those people. Like, you've got an overstressed air traffic control system, and you think the way to go about fixing that is to fire the support staff for the air traffic controllers. It was very obvious this situation was going to escalate, was going to keep getting worse. And now here we are. Like, yes, it's partly has to do with the shutdown, but the shutdown wouldn't be this devastated if you didn't already have all these air traffic controllers with one foot out the door because of the degrading conditions that they're being asked to work in. So there's a little bit about that from USA Today. Thousands of flights have been disrupted since the Federal Aviation Administration ordered airlines to reduce operations at 40 U.S. airports to combat air traffic controller staffing shortages. Cuts were supposed to begin at 4% starting November 7th and gradually slide up to 10% by November 14th. But some airports have already seen well more than that since the cuts began. Quote, we have aircraft that are out of place, crews that are out of place, pilots that are out of place, Funk said. And unlike a storm or a hurricane, this is impacting all kinds of airports. The longer that continues, the harder it is to restore, added Robert Mann, a former airline executive and current president of independent airline consultancy, R.W. Mann and Company. Maintenance will also be a factor. The longer the shutdown goes, the more you have equipment that's not being routed properly for required maintenance. You cannot restore an aircraft to service without airworthiness checks. That's job number one. Getting it back for revenue purposes is job number two. And I remember from covering this at the time, a lot of the people who got fired by DOGE were support staff for the maintenance people. Quote, FAA has some clear issues with attendance by controllers who, for years now, predating the pandemic, have been mandated to work 6 days a week in some cases, with mandatory overtime as well, Mann said. Are we assuming that every single air traffic controller hasn't picked up a second job and is just going to come back ready to work 60 or 80-hour weeks? Probably not, Funk echoed. Speaking on CNN's State of the Union on November 9th, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said, I used to have about 4 controllers retire a day before the shutdown. I'm now up to 15 to 20 a day are retiring. So it's going to be harder for me to come back after the shutdown and have more controllers controlling the airspace. So this is going to live on in air travel well beyond the time frame that this government opens back up. The FAA has been hiring and training new controllers, but Mann noted it's a time-consuming process with a high attrition rate and a lot of stress. Yeah, you're having now people who have gone through 3 years of training who are saying, you know what, fuck it. I don't want to live that life. I'll drive for Uber. Would you? Would you want this job? I wouldn't want this job. Who the fuck wants a job like that where you have the stress of being constantly responsible for thousands of lives all day? That's your job. And they're going to make you do it 60 to 80 hours a day with overtime? Why would you want that? Why would you want that for yourself? Like, the level of burnout in that industry, particularly with this crew and with the president attacking you, they started calling in sick because they stopped getting paid. This week is the second week of not getting paid. And a lot of them went out. A lot of them already work second jobs. You do not take people who have these kinds of responsibilities and put that kind of pressure on them. You know, this is something you'll get a lot of people. We just covered with the landlord thing in New York who scream about communism. Well, this is capitalism. This is capitalism where you are so focused on giving as little as possible to the people who make the whole thing work that you're putting people's lives in danger. Like, what could you more want to create an environment where the workers are calm, mentally rested, than something where they're responsible for all of these lives, but they are so fucking greedy, they won't do it. They won't do it. These people should be working maximum 40 hours a week, and they should have a very good pay package. That will immediately solve the air traffic control shortage problem, because then it would be a pretty good job. And people are going to be bringing their A game to work. You want people who are tired, stressed, and angry running air traffic control? It's again, they didn't create this problem, but they're not addressing it the way you need to address it. Make the conditions better for the air traffic controllers. Notice that's something they're not talking about.
Yeah, no. Get back to work now.
Get back to work.
Yeah, now. I mean,
we will find you.
We will find you. I mean, this is the thing, man. Like, and also, when it comes to this shutdown, this is part of why I said, as much as the Democrats handling this the way they did was just, a real blow to the base. And we gave our take on that. I called them an illegitimate party, and I stand by it, obviously. But this shit going into Thanksgiving weekend with all the air travel, I mean, it's not an exaggeration to say you could have had like 20 plane crashes that weekend. Like, it's just planes falling out of the fucking sky because look at what you were dealing with. Right. And so, I mean, what a nightmare. And the answer is pretty obvious, but that's the last thing that these people think of. The last thing they think of.
Please clap.